TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, and I'm taking it higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Good afternoon. Good morning, sports fans from around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson. Excuse me. East Coast sports investors. That time of the morning and week for a good friend and colleague. Of course, Mr. Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks at WagerTalk for the Breakfast Bankroll. First and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsor and partnerships. It's WagerWire. If you haven't downloaded the app, head on over to Google Play. Download it. It's free. I promise you, we will be cracking with that app real soon. Viva Tequila Seltzer, CT Bets, the team, the family. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. Go try it. Head on over to the Boston Garden when you're watching the Bruins or the Celtics and enjoy one on ECSI. And of course, Atlanta Steak and Seafood. Head on over to Facebook. Follow Terry Smith while you're there. Follow Atlanta Steak and Seafood. Introduce yourself. Tell them ECSI sent you. And Jeff, I promise you place an order today, you'll be grilling by Friday. So without further ado, hopefully he survived in advance, because that NFL Carnage Week 2, OMG, I think we're down to almost 3,000, like 3,200 in the Circa Survivor after 2 weeks. Well over 10,000 are out. Quick 10 million in the kitty. The one and only, Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Good morning,
sir.
Unbelievable, Jeff. It's unbelievable. That Circa contest, I mean, obviously, the hard part is just getting started for people, but you got to be feeling pretty good if you're still alive, and it's only 2 weeks in at this point right now for those people. I saw something that said that the value of each entrant now is like $3,800 or $3,600. So, I mean, hey, you got to be feeling pretty good right now.
That's where WagerWire comes in. He's been talking to Derek and Mr. Benson and their team now for a couple years. They want to be able to insert their software for the sports book, but contests like this. So you invested $1,000 and you've already got 3 times your money. So we're not telling you to sell the 100%, but the fact of the matter is you could sell a percentage today and get your money back, and you'd be free rolling the rest of the way.
It's perfect. It's perfect. And, you know, what we always say, and of course, here we are, ECSI, it's an investment. It's what these are. It's what the futures are. And when you enter a contest like this, you know, of course, depending on your financial situation or how many entrants you have or all that stuff. But if it's me and I'm down to the final so many, I'm looking into a WagerWire. I'm looking into a company. I'm looking in to see if, hey, anybody want to split this with me? Because realistically, it's hard to get right to the finish line. So I think it's an accomplishment in its own if you can even get to your ticket being worth, you know, $20,000 or $50,000. You only bought in for $1,000. It's crazy, Jeff. And you know, a lot of the times the winners of these contests, number one, are the people that have multiple entries. And number two, the winners of these contests are the people that already have a bunch of money behind them because they didn't bat an eye, they didn't blink once. They did not want to talk about splits, any revenue sharing. They wanted to go all the way. And you know, it takes a strong person to not want to chop when you get that far.
The carnage was endless, and you know the people with their chest out, of course, not just the ones that survived in advance, but the Charger fans. They're the ones. Oh, how dumb are you guys? Just fade the Panthers. Meanwhile, the Ravens, 9-point favorites against the Raiders, blow a 10-point lead late, lose that game outright. In comes the greatest show on turf, who dat, and Derek Carr and the Saints, and put up almost a 50-burger in Dallas. There were a couple more, you know, upsets. 49ers, small upset on the road. But then 750 people, and we had Crack on yesterday morning, Cornflakes and Cracks, Monday mornings at 10:30 a.m., 7:30 West Coast time. He had, I think, 3 pieces of the Eagles, and I guess late in the fourth quarter at one point they had a 98% chance of winning. I guess run the ball on, you know, third and fourth down or second and third, whatever it is. But that's Sirianni being Sirianni. Not only do they fail, here comes Atlanta, coast to coast, bing bang boom. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, we talk about not being too worried about this type of stuff, but all I saw last night were Eagles tickets. I don't think I saw anybody that liked the Falcons last night. According to social media, Atlanta shouldn't even have showed up to the stadium yesterday because it wasn't even going to be close whatsoever. You know what I take out of this, Jeff, out of that game yesterday? And it has nothing to do with either of those teams. It has to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers and their defense, because you know what? Whether it was their run defense or it was their pass defense, they did well against the Falcons in week 1. And sometimes you can learn about a team that didn't even play in a game just based on how a team played in their next game following playing against them. And, you know, whether it was Bijan on the ground, whether it was Mooney, whether it was some of these guys making plays in the receiving game, or even just Kirk having more time in the pocket. Shout out to the offensive line for the Falcons. You know, they protected him quite a bit. He got sacked. What was it? Maybe two and a half times, once. Okay, I saw him get hit, but either way, like, he was protected. So you know, when I look at that, Jeff, I give respect almost to Pittsburgh, because it's such an example of, we use the word overreaction for week 2, but you don't really use it in games like that one. You use it more so when teams get blown out of the water, right? Or teams get, you know, outright upset, like the Bengals, for example, right? But nobody really wanted to use the overreaction term when it comes to the Steelers and the Falcons. And I got to say, whether or not the Steelers have it, the offense is there. Their defense looked good against the Falcons, and I feel like people kind of slept on the Falcons' offense going into week 2.
You know, and I'm glad you brought it up that way, because I take it to the next level as well. Where, look what Arizona did to a beat-up Rams team at this point. But they were, Kyler Murray, one look to the right and Marvin Harrison wide open, to actually beating the Bills, who then on Thursday night come in and stuff the Dolphins. And so my point is, how good is this Arizona offense that moved the ball great in Buffalo and then come back home almost like Desert Swarm, box to wire? Marvin Harrison is who we thought he was, LOL. But there is so much, I use the word carnage, the injuries just now in 2 weeks as well are just piling up. No CMC on the IR. In comes Debo. The list is endless. Cup to the IR. Pacheco out 6 to 8 weeks. During the week, A.J. Brown waves his hand, pulled a hammy, and I'm going to be out at least Monday. National TV made it clear it's going to be a couple of weeks now. Evan Ingram Sunday in warm-ups. Hey, Coach, I just tweaked something. And I guarantee you it wasn't him bending down to pick up his check. But now, Coach, I got to take this week off. It's amazing, these guys and these injuries.
Well, they've been watching too much NBA. They've been watching too much NBA because they're taking the game off. They're doing some load management here in week 2, Jeff. But it goes to show you got to have depth. You got to have depth. And I saw a tweet earlier today, and it might sound so stupid that it makes sense. And this guy just said, you know, guys, it seems like the players that get the ball the most are getting injured the most. And it sounds so obvious that it's true. And if you look at the teams that spread the ball out the most, those are the teams that don't have a lot of these key injuries. You look at, look at Deebo Samuel, the work he's gotten over the last few years even, you know, and some of these guys, obviously CMC, we talk about a guy like that, but you look around the league, the A.J. Brown, you know, how many go routes does he run a game? You know, like, It to me, it seems like a lot of these teams that do a good job of spreading the ball around, those are the teams that don't get injured very much. Those are the teams that, you know, the teams that establish the run, but also can throw. Like you mentioned the Arizona Cardinals, Jeff. That's one thing that I think is so dangerous about that team. There is no clear. I don't think there's no real clear edge, whether it's, hey, they're a running team or, hey, they're a passing team. You add Marvin Harrison Jr., you've got that long threat now. Everybody kind of knew coming into the year, James Conner was in for a great year. Let's not forget how mobile Kyler Murray is. You know, if you were to ask me right now, who am I buying in on more, the Cardinals or the Saints right now? Forget about those big scores the Saints put up. I like what the Cardinals have done so far this year.
No, spot on. And again, who dat nation, hats off. I mean, I was fading them all year. Not Derek Carr, the dink and dunk master. Alvin Kamara was a part of my 2017 two national championship fantasy teams. Had him in diapers. Now 8 years later, here he is, the rebirth of Alvin Kamara. Don't even need to, feed Olave. It's Rashid. And it's crazy. The perfect storm opening week to Carolina, but no one had them in their bingo card, of course. Derek Carr, 15 for 15 in drives and scores as they just destroyed Dallas. And Dallas got a big game this week against the Ravens. If the Ravens lose, they're 0-3. If the Ravens win, well, the Ravens and Cowboys are both 1-2. I mean, we're in week 3, and there's some must-win situations for a handful of teams already, Andrew.
Absolutely, and that's the big question, Jeff. You always ask yourself, would you rather start your season off against tougher opponents, or would you rather start the season off against a lighter schedule and work your way in? And for some teams, they can handle that adversity. They can handle having a slow start. Some teams, they need to get off to a fast start and get off to a really good start. Look at that matchup for the Ravens. I mean, that was obviously one of the biggest survivor kills of the week. That was one of those games that everybody said, hey, look, this is a team that if Isaiah Likely's foot is not on the line, they win in week 1. Oh, no. They're not losing in week 2. In fact, they might win by double digits, and then, of course, they go in, and this Raiders team shocks everybody. You know what I'm surprised by? Josh Jacobs, of course, playing for my Packers now. There's really no threat on the ground for this Raiders team. No problem. No, it's almost like Devontae Adams is like, hey, guys, you have no ground game anymore, so just feed me the ball. And that's what he was able to do. But the secondary and some of the defensive stuff going on right now with the Ravens, how important are their next few games, Jeff, for them to, make sure people know who they are and that they mean business? Because you're only as good as your record. And I know people that have their power ratings and power rankings don't want to hear that, but I believe it. You know what I mean? Like, you are only as good as what it says on your standings. From a handicapping perspective, of course, you and I could make money still on these teams if they're 0-3 or 0-4 whatever. But the fact that this team is struggling out the gate to finish the game, not really a good sign.
I gotta, platform stage. I always say anyone that comes on our show, this is your stage, this is your platform. I gotta give you a few minutes. Hats off on your Green Bay Packers.
I'm excited. Jeff, I didn't have it in me. I didn't have it in me to get to the window with the side play, but I did play a teaser with them. I was like, you know what? either way, this game's going to be within a touchdown. I'm going to tease them up, and we're going to hopefully watch for a close game. I mean, you got to give credit to Willis. I mean, he did what he had to do. Didn't throw the ball a ton, but did what he had to do. Good completion percentage. Josh Jacobs, you know, if you were to ask me, what are a few props that you didn't release that you're not happy about? Number one, any running back against the Packers has like a career day, it seemed like. So Jonathan Taylor should have been a bet. But with no Jordan Love, how did we not all play Josh Jacobs on the ground? I mean, he was going to get his touches. He was going to get his opportunities. That's kind of the 101 of prop betting. If a quarterback is out, you know, the running back is going to get more opportunities. But very exciting victory. The defense stood out in the second half. And you know, they beat a team that I think wasn't going to be an easy win by any means. So, it's good for them, and it also gives them faith that they don't have to rush back Jordan Love.
I have to ask you this. Me and Crack had a not a somber show, but a reality show. And you know, we've been here for almost 10 years. You know how we operate here. You know I preach, you know, strict money management, bankroll control. We just because it's on TV, we don't force the play. We really try to grind Monday through Saturday. Check our winnings like another envelope Monday again this week, even though 2.5 units, but it's on the plus side, not the minus side. You see what has happened in the NFL the first 2 weeks. How do you look at this week's card? Is it business as usual? Hey, I'm going to stay away from the sides, the totals. I mean, it's flipping coins right now. I'm going to try to find some hidden gems in the prop market. How do you evaluate week 3 in the NFL? And it's only Tuesday. We got a lot of time to work on this. Never mind, you and I will be back on Friday on your channel. But how do you take a look at this week's schedule?
I think that in week 2, people are so excited to try and, you know, bet on the teams that underachieved and bet against the teams that might have overachieved. And in week 3, trying to figure out, okay, which teams are actually pretty good. Which teams are actually the teams that I'm interested in putting my money on now. You know, a game that sticks out to me right away is Buccaneers hosting the Broncos. Baker Mayfield, I've been talking him up. I think he's impressive. I think his completion percentage over his last 10, 15, 20 games as a starting quarterback has been impressive, Jeff. And you look at that game over the weekend, I had the over Lions-Bucks, and, you know, no passing touchdowns for Goff, 2 interceptions. That one was, as you would say, thanks for playing. I need 2 teams, the tango, to get me over the total. But this team, with Godwin, with Evans, with the run game being there, they've been impressing me. But it's kind of like with a CFL team we're going to talk about a little bit later. There's some teams that you love in a certain point spread range. And this is the point spread range. I want the young buck. I want Bo Nix. I want this Broncos team that has an aggressive defense. They'll get after the quarterback. They do have playmakers. The +7 sticks out to me. You know, we're going to see some teams that are going to be favorited that I think we're going to be able to make some money betting on the underdog. And now you look at another one that's kind of interesting to me as well. Where is it here? Jacksonville and Buffalo. So how bad can things get in Jacksonville right now? You got your quarterback talking to the media saying, we suck right now. Our offense is bad. I thought I honestly saw a fake account. I thought AI was playing tricks on me, Jeff, because I didn't think a quarterback would say we suck about his own team, but he did. Now they're catching 5.5 on the highway in Buffalo, and thankfully for them, the weather is still pretty nice, so it's not like they're going to have to deal with any snow going on in Buffalo. But I kind of love that ugly dog. You know, I really do. I think this Buffalo team, they're a team that they took care of Miami. Miami obviously had Tua get injured. Overall, Miami just didn't look like themselves. If you look at Miami in that game that they played, realistically, Buffalo didn't really do anything special. They didn't really have to do anything special because Miami pretty much handed them the game. So I still have faith in the ground game for Jacksonville. I think that the way that they play could do some damage against the Buffalo Bills. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, this is just off the top of my head. Long term, don't the Jags do well against Buffalo in these types of point spreads?
I'd have to look back. I know they have some kryptonite teams. I'm going to tell you this about the Jaguars. I was watching them heavily, and I see a team offensively in disarray. I saw more false starts. I saw more timeouts had to be called because the play clock was running out. I don't know if it's Peterson. I don't know if it's the OC. I don't know if it's Goldilocks himself. But they just look so like they're not practicing. And I was going to go into this with all the injuries that have happened. And we know it's a violent sport. But I think it has a lot to do with the practice schedules now, the lack of practices in August. The preseason is useless now. And I think a part of it is the NFL and Goodell really pushing for that 18-game schedule, that 2 bye weeks. And, hey, August will be regular season games now, guys. We don't need preseason.
It's so important for players to get warmed up. I understand they don't want to risk injury in meaningless games, Jeff, but it is important to put those players out there in the preseason, to have these tough reps, to have these tough practices. And I'll tell you, one thing I'm going to be focusing on in the NHL preseason, because I do bet the preseason in the NHL just a little bit. You know, I'm not attacking the board. It's not going to be as much the teams that are just the vets, because you can always fool yourself with that in the NHL preseason. But it's going to be the teams that are trying to figure out line combinations, trying to figure out who's going to belong who, and who's going to kind of fit where. A lot of the misunderstanding is you want to take, a lot of times some teams will do this. They'll stack one team one night and they'll play all young guys the other night. But some teams will go half and half. Half rookies, half vets, half rookies, half vets. Those are the teams you want to bet on because they're kind of trying to make an impression for yourself. And unfortunately, in the NFL right now, they just aren't really looking for any preseason reps, anything from these guys. Look at Kirk Cousins in week 1 versus week 2. I know he handed the ball off 10 times to start the game off yesterday, and he wasn't playing the Steelers, but he was still able to throw the ball very well. We got some info here from Noah in the back end there. Jags 2023, 25-10 in 2021. Jags 9-6. This team gets it done. See, I knew off the top of my head. The Jags against the Bills. 25-20, 25-20, 9-6. There we go. Shout out to Noah for that. I appreciate it, Noah.
Look at Noah go. Just who needs Google when we got Noah here? So, of course, a shout out to Noah as always. We get a couple minutes before we go to our first break, Andrew. You talked about CFL. We're going to get more into it after the break, but what'd your eyes see last weekend in the CFL?
The dogs are barking. The dogs are barking. It's hard for a lot of these teams to win by a lengthy margin. That's what I'm seeing right now, Jeff, in the CFL. I'll tell you, in a lot of leagues, and I feel like I'm getting deja vu because I feel like I say this every time to you around this time of year, and that's how you know you and I have been doing shows together for a long time. The teams that are out of the playoffs or teams that are a little bit, I'll say, struggling, those are the teams that you kind of want your money on right now. I'll tell you. I mean, when you start to give up on a CFL team, they're going to just laugh at you and go cover 5-point spreads in a row. It's the saying, bet numbers, not teams. I know GRP wins. George just doesn't like that one in the NFL, but I'll tell you what, it matters in the CFL because some of these teams, they might not win the game, but they're going to cover the games. I'm looking at you, Calgary. I'm looking at you, Hamilton. Some of these teams, Jeff, that might hang around does not mean they're going to win. Hamilton put up a 37-piece last week. They were dogs in that game. Toronto, dogs last week, 33-piece. And then, of course, we had a tie in the Calgary and Montreal game, and they were underdogs in that game. Dogs go 3-0 in week 15.
And again, we'll give you after the break. We're gonna go. We'll talk this week's schedule in the CFL. We're gonna do a segment with picks, props, and thoughts, of course, before we send you on your way to your busy schedule. And I also want to talk some NHL for a quick second after as well, because the Hockey East rankings came out, and I got all, yeah, here we go. We're getting closer. BC, the number one team, BU right behind. I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs when it comes to, college hockey, especially, I'm an hour away from BU, and I always catch BU, BC. Go to the Bean Pots. We did two broadcasts, me and Anthony Pepe last year, live from the Garden. We saw the finals in the men's and the women's. And so you got to be getting a little giddy because you get that crispness in the air, Andrew. And I know for one thing and one thing only, that means hockey for you.
It does. You can tell in the temperature. You can tell when you're outside. And yesterday was it was pretty much most teams' golf tournaments, charity golf tournaments in the NHL. For most people, it's a blessing to be able to say this, but working for me yesterday was watching a lot of press conferences and taking notes and listening to what coaches and managements were saying, because you can really tell the goals that they have for their teams, what you expect from them, and kind of if they'll be active at the trade deadline, if they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline, where they're going to be. And so whether it was the Leafs, whether it was the Senators, whether it was the Canadiens, whether it was some of these teams in the Metropolitan Division, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. I was watching a lot of interviews yesterday, Jeff. I'm excited. I can't wait. Speaking of BU, we got a chance to see Lane Hudson, who I know you're a fan of, and so are a couple of your colleagues. So he'll get a chance to work with all the big guys starting tomorrow as training camp gets underway.
All right, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to see what Andrew's eyes see in the CFL this week. And then again, we're going to talk a little more NFL. Maybe he's got his eyes on Patriots Jets on Thursday. Maybe a little MLB prop or whatever, and his thoughts for the NFL in our picks, props, and thoughts segment. So quick commercial. Stay tuned. If you haven't gone to YouTube, head on over, subscribe at East Coast Sports Investors. It's free. While you're there, make sure you subscribe at McInnis Picks as well. Andrew's channel, my channel. It's like Ebony and Ivory right here. So we go, Bonnie and Clyde, whatever you want to call us, So we'll be right back.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, take me higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. We're back here. Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks, at WagerTalk, of course, and myself at EC Sports Invest, and the one and only Noah Frank behind the glass. Andrew, a couple games on Friday. I'm looking right now. Hamilton at Toronto currently. Hamilton -6.5. Saskatchewan at Calgary. Saskatchewan -3. You talked about the dogs were barking loud last week, and here we are right there on Friday. one road dog was Saskatchewan and Calgary, the team that just won't go away, of course, and this red hot Hamilton team versus a Toronto team looking for a bounce back.
So I'd say that the opening game is probably the favorite I like the most out of this week. You look at what Toronto was able to do last week. It was impressive. I think that you go to Western Canada and you take on the Lions and you put up a 33 spot. That's just what the doctor ordered for them. That was the prescription for them for that week, was to go to Western Canada and find your offense again. And they did. They put up 33 against BC. And I feel like that's going to regain a spark for them, Jeff. Here's the deal. This is probably one of the bigger rivalries in the CFL. You got Hamilton-Toronto. You got Saskatchewan-Winnipeg. To me, this is going to be one of those games that they're going to care about the rivalry, because the last time that these teams played on September 2nd, it could not have gone any worse for Chad Kelly. He did not play quality football. The defense gave up 31 points, and they lost outright as favorites. And then back on July 20th, when I was there in person, Hamilton wins outright against Toronto once again, and they actually led that game the whole entire way. So the rivalry game throughout this year so far, for whether it's been Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, whether it's been Toronto versus Hamilton, whether it's been Calgary versus Edmonton, the dogs have been barking, Jeff. But in this one in particular, I'm going to take the bait, and I'm going to take the favorite to get the job done. Might be a team total opportunity as well for this Argos team. But you often talk about respecting the number here. A lot of times I just respect my own numbers and don't even worry about what the bookmakers are doing. But in this particular situation, I think that the way this number opened up, it's going to be a good opportunity for Toronto to come home and get the job done against the Ticats. So I'm going to lay the points. I think the Argos win this one by a touchdown, and I think their defense has a quality game against the Ticats. Look at the game that the Ticats had last week. Let's not forget who they were playing. I think that, to me, they're a team that is going to be involved in some close games, but at the same time, this is a game that's going to mean a hell of a lot for Toronto, and they're going to show up for it. So I like that one quite a bit. And then a team that, to give you credit here, Jeff, because we've been doing this show all summer together, I like the Riders, but I'm always a little bit shocked when they're laying a ton of points. And when you look at the number you're seeing right now, Riders versus Stampeders, a lot of people had this opening up way higher. Man, did it get bet down, And then now all of a sudden we pretty much have this one a little bit closer to a pick. Well, we'll call it 2.5 here. And the way I got to look in this one is actually going to be the Stampeders. This team has turned it around a little bit. But you know what I like even more than I like the Stampeders is the over in this game. Because I think that the Calgary Stampeders, even in games that their offense comes together, their defense is still letting them down a little bit. So Saskatchewan, I have been able to make money with their unders over the last few years. But for some reason, the second half, they can't protect leads. They have one of the longest second half over streaks going. I'm not sure how people keep track of that. It's certainly not me writing it down on pen and paper, but I have read about it. And this is a team that's putting up points a lot of the time in the second half. So I think we'd go over in Saskatchewan and Calgary. And then, well, we've got your team playing in the second half of some of these games here, the Elks. What do you think here, Jeff? Does this team mean business? They're only catching 3 now, and it feels like just yesterday, if they were playing Winnipeg, they'd be catching 8 points. Now they're only catching 3.
I was looking at that, and the other game, of course, Montreal and Ottawa. Which Montreal team shows up? Montreal 2.5. That one smells to me. Keep an eye. Ottawa's playing great at home. Keep an eye on that one. But the Elks catching a field goal on the Saturday night special, of course, against Winnipeg. And I always say this to you, Andrew. we're at that time of the year where the Blue Bombers finally usually kick it into gear and they get into playoff form. And if you set me $100 to wager on this game, I'd have 75 on Edmonton plus the 3 and the 25 on Edmonton on the money line right now. I like what I'm seeing. I think the home crowd is believing in them. I believe I'm back in on the Elks.
You're back in on the Elks, and I'll tell you what. The 1 week I don't fade the Red Blacks, they get absolutely steamed out. Like, they get blown out of the water, and it's by Hamilton. Like I told you, this Red Blacks team is my kryptonite. If I bet against them every week, they're going to cover. If I go off them 1 week, they give up 30-some points. It's unbelievable. But then the other game on Saturday, which, of course, hats off to the CFL. Giving a round of applause to the CFL for not scheduling games on NFL Sunday. You got to respect it for them. Hopefully, coming to their senses a little bit here. But Alouettes minus 2.5 after what they had going for them last week. Red Blacks plus 2.5, total at 50. We've obviously got an Ottawa team in a bounce back situation, but did their defense get exposed? That's really the question. Did their defense get exposed? And it goes to show, like I said to you before, if you're nervous about fading Ottawa, you just take the over. Because whether or not they're going to win or lose, they're going to give up points. So I kind of lean towards the over in that game. It is worth mentioning that Montreal is without one of their top receivers for the remainder of the season, which certainly hurts them. But that Saskatchewan Calgary one I'm still kind of deciding on. But like I said, I do lean towards the over in that game. Hamilton, Toronto, that's a high one. One of the higher totals we've seen at 54. Something tells me Toronto just shuts down Hamilton. That's the overreaction game of the week. Hamilton is back. They put up 37 points, whatever it might have been. And, 37 points. And now they got a game where the total is 54. I think that I'm not buying into that. I think you've got a team that might get shut down against the Toronto team that's off a good win as well. So this whole week is about which team do you believe in the most, because every team playing this week in the last 2 weeks has had a really, really good game. And that's the thing about the CFL. Imagine if the Panthers had what happened to them in the NFL in week 1, and then in week 2 they won by 10. You'd be saying, what the hell is going on? What is this team? Right? It doesn't happen as much in the NFL. I mean, we saw the Raiders and the Ravens, what happened there. But in the CFL, Jeff, every week a new team is having success. It really is.
I was just, thanks to Noah, looking at the Grey Cup odds, and it's almost like the banana in the tailpipe. And when it comes back around, I'll tell you what my eyes are seeing just with these live updated odds. Right now, the favorite is the Alouettes, Montreal plus 190, Winnipeg plus 300. Can we please ask what we are buying on the Lions at plus 320?
I don't get it. I think what sticks out to you the most? What do you want to bet right now, kind of as a long shot?
Well, I'm telling you, I can read the market with the best of them. They're telling you right now that you're supposed to go buy the Lions at plus 320 because that sticks out like a damn sore thumb.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, anyone behind them, the Red Blacks, the Argonauts, the Rough Riders, the Elks, the Stampeders, hey, maybe they're in and they win a round. And we know Montreal, we know Winnipeg, those are the two top dogs. But that BC at plus 320 sticks out like a sore thumb, Andrew.
And we can't forget they're hosting the Grey Cup. They've got two great quarterbacks. They've got a good coaching staff. But I saw Gabe Morency tweet something over the weekend, and I couldn't agree with him more. Jeff, has it been more of a bad thing than a good thing that Nathan Rourke joined the Lions? Did you see that he got removed from the game last week and they put Vernon Adams Jr. in the game? So what's the deal here? Who is going to be the starting quarterback moving forward for this team? And luckily, it's a bye week for them, so they have a little bit of time to figure that out. Because if they were going into this week, we would be chomping at the bit trying to figure out who the starter is. But I want to point something out that Toronto is pretty much in the same spot right now that Montreal was last year. So it might be worth mentioning that if anybody wants a little piece of something right now, I mean, it's only 9 teams. You know, most teams make the playoffs. You got to win 2 games to get in and punch your ticket to the Grey Cup. You can get the Argos at 8-1. That's going to be the one I'm going to float out there. And if the Argos win this weekend, and especially if the Red Blacks lose, that 8-1 won't be there anymore next time we're talking.
100%. And I promise this, Noah, one quick commercial and then picks, props, and thoughts as we wrap it up with Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks. We'll be right back. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. If you're not following Andrew, go to McInnis Picks. You can get all his work, obviously, at WagerTalk, which we will get into the promo of the week once we wrap this up. But this segment, picks, props, and thoughts. Andrew, it's Tuesday. Okay, you got NFL on Thursday, you got CFL Friday and Saturday, you got college football, you got MLB. The whole slate is yours. We got standing room only currently right now. Give us where your head is, wherever it is, whether it's today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever it is.
Well, I will be jumping back into the NFL prop market today, but those are going to be tweeted out a little bit later on in the afternoon as the numbers kind of settle in here a little bit. They've been jumping around. Friday in the CFL, look, I mentioned it, and I think this is a very weird number. And when a number is kind of weird, I want to take it. And so we're going to make an official play for the show. We're going to go with the Argos, lay the points at home, minus the 6 and the hook. If you can get that number, avoid the -7. I feel like we saw 37 points scored for the Hamilton Tiger Cats last week. I'm not buying it. In fact, I'm selling it. The Argos are more the real deal. We have seen Hamilton win every game in the meeting this season so far. I think Toronto wins, and when they win games, they usually cover the point spread. So we'll take that one. And as I mentioned, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, I'm not saying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are overachieving, Jeff, by any means. I'm just saying now you're going to take them from getting 6.5, 7 points to laying that. So we got a 14-point swing for them from week 2 to week 3. I'm not buying that. So give me the Denver Broncos plus the 7. And I'm going to just float this out there for everybody. You know the drill. Any time you see a running back against my Green Bay Packers, just run to the window and take their rushing prop over the total. That's all I've got for today, Jeff. But I'm excited for this weekend. Lots of great games here.
As we always wrap it up with you, Andrew, I give you that 7-yard button hook, and you catch it, unlike Saquon Barkley late last night. So what we want to do is tell everyone what you got to offer at WagerTalk in the promo today.
Short and simple, Jeff. It's $5 Tuesday. $2 Tuesday is no longer, but it's a good thing because it's not just one person now. All of us get to put up one play for $5, so you guys can join me. It's actually going to be a CFL play this weekend, and it's another one we didn't mention. Another pick that we'll keep for just that $5 play, so you guys can get that best bet. It'll go back to $25 at midnight Pacific time.
The one and only Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks at WagerTalk. Jump on over to YouTube. Please go follow his channel at McInnis Picks. Andrew, we'll be back hopefully Friday, 10 a.m. your channel, 11 a.m. yours.
Let's do it. Sounds good to me.
Andrew McInnis, thank you so much.
Thanks,
we
Jeff.
will catch up real soon. Thank you. Noah, quick commercial and we'll do a quick rack up. Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks at WagerTalk. Go on over there. Grab his selections for just $5 today. $5. You can't even get a large coffee at Starbucks. Jesus. Where inflation has gone, I should say. So today, 5 p.m., myself and Riley Magnuson will be back for the closing bell at 6:15. Scotty Webb back for In the Batter's Box. A shout out to Mr. Russell Saylor. A shout out to Amber Hawley. To everyone else, of course, watching this show. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., 8 a.m. Pacific. Brady Kannon will be back talking Circa Survivor and the carnage there, some NFL. We'll talk a little golf, of course. And then Tyler Wyatt at Wyatt Betts will be talking from 11:30 to 12. Shout out to Noah Frank, the best producer in the house, and everyone out there. Go enjoy your morning. Breathe as we are halfway through, actually 2 weeks left in September. See you soon.